Hi, this is Raticake, and I'm doing the post-draft rankings for the VTID. I'm going to be going over just the grades I gave each team and sort of explain why. This is all my opinion, though. I've not seen most of these coaches play before, so I don't know how they'll use the teams. So it's basically based on what I like and kind of my play. So just to get right into it, first of all, we have Capital. So Capital, I think, has a pretty solid team. Tapu Bulu, Heatran, and a Flying Electric core is a very solid core, and they work really well with each other. I'm using basically that core with Kyurem, Mega Blastoise, and Miltank, so a very similar team in a different league, and it's been doing pretty well. One problem this team has, I think, is it's a pretty slow team, but Capital does have sticky webs and can baton pass speed, not with any other stat, but can baton pass speed from Scoldipede to Bulu, Kyurem, or Heatran, which really allow it to outspeed so many other mons, and then they can just put in so much work. So I can see this team doing pretty well this season, and I'm kind of excited to see how Capital uses it, and I'll be following him to see how they prep compared to me. So the next one we have is Pesky Skitty. This is a team I almost like as much as the last one, but not quite. So I really like the Tapu Koko, Mega Metachan, Zygarde offensive core, and I really think Fairthorn and Alamola will really help support in the back. So take hits and allow those other three to come in and kind of sweep. This team is gonna be so hard to prep for, I feel like, because Tapu Koko, Mega Metachan, and Zygarde are 3 months that can just completely annihilate your team. You have to focus so hard on prepping for each one of them that it's going to be pretty tricky. One thing about this team, though, is outside of that main core, I can see this team isn't too impressive to me. Entei is pretty solid, obviously. Dugtrio can do some work, but I don't really see it having a role on this team, especially when they already have Zygarde, which is a better ground type, especially in League. But their Pesky Skitty's core, like 5, are so solid that I can still see it doing pretty well this season. So the next one we have is Sethi. Sethi is a team that also got a B. But this is a little more on the lower end of the B, whereas the other ones are kind of on the edge of a B+. So Sethi has a lot of power with Volcania, Nidoking, Primarina, Mega Tyranitar, Como-O, Vigavolt, even Magnezone. However, one problem I kind of see this team as, once again, it's a pretty slow team. It has Mega Tyranitar and Como-O sort of in the back to set up with Dragon Dances, which then can outspeed and um, very much run through some teams. But Lycanroc is its only really fast Mon, and I can see Sethi being forced to run Scarf almost every week. But I do like the Mons. I think it's a solid bulky offense because at least the Mons on it hit hard enough that they'll break through and can usually end up taking a hit. Also, Sethi has Cresselia, which is straight poison, and can just beat teams because it is awful. Yeah, I don't think I have to say much more about Cresselia because people have probably played it before and know how just awful it is to face. So, next, we have Archfiend. This is my favorite team in the entire draft. I think, as a whole, it is one of the best, most balanced teams. I really can see Mega Venusaur, Latios, and Crocodile doing a lot of work this year because Mega Venusaur is so hard to kill, and then when Archfiend also has Latios, which I'd say is one of the best answers to Venusaur, that makes it even harder, and then Crocodile is immune to, and then can revenge kill or pursuit, however Archfiend decides to do it. Those sidekick types that would take out Mega Venusaur, I can see Mega Venusaur putting in a lot of work and being a huge problem this year. Also, obviously, Archfiend has Arcanine and Tapu Fini, which are two very great mons, along with Scissor. Galvantula is also a decent one. This team doesn't seem to need sticky webs quite as much as like the previous one who did, but they can still be useful in making it so that Choice Scarfed Mons can't outspeed Latios, or allowing Tapu Fini, Crocodile, or Canine, Scissor even to outspeed some Mons they wouldn't normally. So this is my favorite team. I think it's just like the most balanced, and as a whole will do pretty well if our team uses it right. Next we have Nathan. I gave this team a B minus. Victini is one of the best, if not the best, Mons in League, and I think it is a great first choice. Outside of that, like, has Terrakion, which is also really good, obviously. Sylveon is solid, but Victini is its only real star on my team, or in my eyes, on Nathan's team. And I can see this team just doesn't have quite like the power or bulk. I think it's a little too average of stats on most, with like, yeah, I can just see that being a problem. Although Flygon now having Dragon Dance can be a big threat. Registeel I know is just a monster that can take hits and then set up and sweep whole teams, as Wolverine has done before. And Mega Beedrill can obviously just hit pretty hard, it just doesn't hit quite hard enough for what this team needs, I feel like. I think, besides kinda Sylveon, Nathan doesn't have, or I guess Enterakion, especially if it sets up, Nathan doesn't have some huge wall breakers and could maybe run into some trouble with that, but overall it's a pretty decent team, I think. Next we have Apache, also got a B minus. On this team, I really like Jirachi, Mega Gyarados, Porygon 2, and a Moongus, but once again, outside of those four, the team, it just doesn't really like pop to me. It just seems kind of too average of stats. And I can see it becoming a problem with allowing people to set up and such. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear anything that's going around. I'm in a dorm right now, so like my neighbors might be doing stuff that you might be able to hear every now and then. Anyways, so yeah, Apache's team, it's just, it doesn't quite have the super fast mons. It doesn't quite have the super hard hitting, especially mons. But like a Mega Gyarados is such a threat with just being able to set up Dragon Dance as that. I can still see it being a pretty solid team. Actually, with Jason, I gave this a B plus. Florges, Mega Diancie, and Landorus Therian are such good mons that they can all kind of wreak havoc. They also are pretty versatile, especially Landorus T being a Z-mon, and Celesteela. I can see those three doing a lot of work this season. Also, Florges is a fantastic fairy type, especially in League when people will usually only have like 2 or so fairy resist. That Florges can set up Calm Minds and Sweep sometimes, or whatever you need it to do. This is another one though that has a little bit of a problem, I think, outside of like its OU slash like Florges area, that it could get stuck bringing the same mons very often. I also don't know how I feel about Greninja being a Z-Mon. I get that it has a very good move pool, but I don't think it quite hits hard enough for those Z moves to be useful, but it does get like Z Celebrate, I think. So it could put some work in with that. Also, sorry, I just guessed on that, so don't quote me. Next we have Duck Suck. So this is a team that got a C plus. This is because it's a pretty fast team. It has some decently hard hitters, but it doesn't really have any or much bulk to it, and I can see it. I feel like Duck Suck's games are gonna be either he's gonna go out and win it quick or lose it quick, because this team doesn't have really much recovery. And it's just hard hitters, a decent amount of them, like, or I guess not a decent, but some of them like will do damage to themselves along the way. And it just seems like a pretty frail team that I gave it a C plus because I think it could just run into problems going into those longer games and with people being able to prep. Also, this is another one that, like, outside of the pretty fast mons, and they're mostly special attackers that are the really fast, hard-hitting ones. Its stats are just a little too, like, it's has Darmanitan and kind of Bravery, but not like great hard-hitting or not great physical attackers. So I feel like it could be a little too easy to prep for. Next we have Nathan. So Nathan I gave a C plus also. I love the choice of Manaphy and Volcarona and having those two as your Z-Mons. Obviously, like, Mega Manetrix, quite good. Crobat is also. But outside of those top two, really, the rest of the team is just very alright to me. Naz has 3 water types. 2 of them are pure water type, and I could see that causing a problem with Manaphy, Vaporeon, and Jellicent. And the team, it just doesn't quite seem to have all of the different roles covered. And this is another one. That's just seems to be a lot of special attackers. And that's why I gave Naz's team a C+, because there are those couple of standout mons, but besides that, it just doesn't seem too fantastic to me, but we'll see what Naz does with it. Next we have Wolverine. I gave this a B+. Wolverine has Toxapex and Tangrowth, which those two as a regenerator core is just awful to face. And then also just has like Kartana, Mega Pidgeot, Halucha in the back that can then just come out and do a ton of damage to your team once they get the chance. Also has things like Mikumuku, which is just a odd mon, or not odd, but solid mon, and Gothitile could come out and help with trapping if your opponent has really only one mon that can handle like Tangrowth or Toxapex, can build Gothitile just for that and take it out, hopefully. Quagsire obviously is also really annoying to deal with, and overall I think it has a pretty solid bulky team. And I've played with Wolverine for a long time, so I know I said that I didn't put like the coach's playstyles into most of it, but this one, it's not one that I would particularly use, but I can see, especially in his hands, that it would be very good. Next we have Rowlet, and this was my second favorite of the draft. I just think that it is such a well-balanced team and kind of covers all of the bases. He's got Tornadus, which just hits hard, Slowbro, which can take hits, Metagross, which can take hits, Mega Charizard X, which will set up on you. And overall, yeah, this was just a team that I enjoyed and would like to use. I can see just the power of it causing people problems, and on the team I'm using Thunderous T as my Z captain, and it has worked really well. So I can see this team doing pretty well. Slowbro and Metagross can take hits pretty well, but in sort of like today's game, they aren't the best walls, which I can see being a problem, which Tangela kind of does, but nowhere near as well as like Tangrowth on a Wolverine's team. But so that'd be the only problem I can kind of see, is it not being quite enough recovery on its bulky mons. But overall, I think this team is pretty good, and I could see myself using it. Next, we have Captain Sebasaur. I gave this team a C. I'm not a huge fan of this team, honestly. I don't really agree with Starmie being a tier 1 pick. It can hit decently hard, and Pinsir can obviously hit really hard, especially after a Sword Stance. Pinsir can just sweep many people, but if not played right, I can see them having a lot of problems with that. Yeah, this team just, it's another one of those teams that doesn't quite have the extremes it needs, in my opinion. It just has a bunch of okay, or like good mons, but not many great in many aspects. But I'm interested to see what Captain does at this one. And yeah, I'm sure they have a plan. Next we have Wolf. Wolf got a B-. Once again, I don't know if I really agree with Weavile as a tier 1 pick when I was looking at some of the things that were left, but I'm sure Well, I do really like Reuniclus, Megalopunny, and Salamence as a Zmon is so good. Those three right there can just kind of annoy teams and beat them to no end. I think for Wolf's team to be good, they have to make sure that they don't lock things into certain roles. So like, once again, back to him just because I've played with Wolverine for so long. Wolverine used Salamence one season ago when I played with him, and he ran so many different sets on it that you never knew what to expect, and it absolutely just destroyed teams. And I can see Wolf's team doing this if um, they don't lock them into certain roles, and I can see it being solid. But outside of those three, and Weavile is good, but I wouldn't say, in my opinion, not as good as some of the other top tier ones. I can see Wolf doing alright. Next we have Vesuvius. Sorry if I pronounced any of the names wrong also. So it's Kieran Black, Mega Scizor, and Mew, which are obviously fantastic mons, but one thing that has a little bit of a problem for me is outside of Kieran, it kind of lacks like true breaking power. Like Rotom Wash will take hits. Donphan, in my experience, kind of just sets up rocks or rapid spins. Might take a hit, but doesn't do too much usually. Like it can get some of the setup moves, but it doesn't quite hit hard enough or is fast enough to use them. Shaman's the solid one, but it's just not quite strong enough like this team in my opinion, so I gave it a B minus. I can still see it doing well, but can run into problems against like pretty bulky teams. Yeah, so that's kind of what I have on them. And now Liam. Liam, I gave a C minus, and that's because this team, it to me it's just a little, or it's just pretty much too slow. It does have Gigalith plus Excadrill, which can help with that. But besides that, it's just normally Latias. Cryogonal is fast, but its other stats are alright, I would say. Um, and Clefable can obviously take hits. Mega Aggron can, but the rest of the team, or for Alligator is a good setup mon, but with this team, I don't think there's quite the support to get it into the position to sweep. Because the team's just a little too slow, and it doesn't have the like some of the other slower teams have had sticky webs, or they've had like a baton passer of speed, and this team just doesn't quite have that. So I can see it running into a lot of problems where it just gets outsped by teams and beat because of that. And its mons aren't quite bulky enough to get undersped all the time for the most part. But I don't really know. I'm very interested to see what Liam does with this team, because yeah, I don't really see it, but sure, they have something in plan. And finally, X Luke. So X Luke I gave a C plus. This is a team that I know Cobalion was the leader in kills in the GBA this season. Infernape is obviously a very solid mon along with Mamoswine. Mega Latios is pretty solid. Togekiss, but I think this is just another team that runs into me, or in my opinion, the good mons, but not great, and it doesn't quite have the power to punch through many teams. That's what a decent amount of these teams I can see. Some of the lot like bulkier teams that are true bulk, not just like bulky attackers, but like walls, causing a lot of problems for some of these people. Because this one, yeah, I can just see it having problems punching holes in teams because it doesn't really seem to have that true wall breaker at all. But I don't really know. Once again, I'm sure Luke has a plan and will do great with it, but we'll see. So with that, I am done. Peace out.